Hey guys, this is Amber Rain Davis from NotableInk.com, and I am joining in with Inktober this year, so with the Zentangle side of things. So the Inktober Tangles 2019 is the hashtag, if that's something that you want to search, and I'm going to be doing cards. So Zentangle for card makers for the segments that I'm going to do. So I am starting off with a piece of watercolor paper. This is from the B Company. It's 100% cotton paper. And I'm just doing a wash of ochre from the Magello Mission Gold watercolor set. And I've just gone wet to dry. So my watercolor paper is dry and I'm just taking the wet pigment to the paper. It absorbs really nicely. I went ahead and let it dry. And then we'll go ahead and start tangling. So I'm going to be doing mono tangles for my cards. This one is Zonked by Barbara Finwall, and this is actually for day 4 of the Inktober Tangles. And so it starts off with just a grid, and I'm using a Pigma 05 pen. This is the Apprentice pen. I normally would use a PN pen, but I couldn't find mine. And the Apprentice pens have the same nib. It's a PN pen. The reason I chose that is because watercolor paper is quite textured, and I find that I tend to crush a regular Micron tip. So here I have a regular Micron. This is an 08 though, so the tip is a little more hardy, and I wanted to darken up my initial grid. And that'll be the last that I use, the 08. I use the 05 Pigma pen for the remainder of it. So I've started with just a grid of squares, and then I'm going to bisect that with a diagonal line, and I'll come back in the other direction as well. So I've left these segments at normal speed so you have an idea of how slowly I draw my lines. I go at a slow pace, and that helps me to get a straight line. You'll also notice that I'm typically moving my pen away from me. I tend to get a better line that way, and you'll see me flip my paper around consistently throughout the piece to make sure that I'm drawing in the direction that's most comfortable for me. So the next step after getting your grid and triangles down is to add some parentheses in each one of those segments in the center where those triangles connect. And once you get your parentheses, you're just going to fill that in with your ink. So you can see like the one that I have on the left there. And if you wanted to use a larger pen to do that, like I have a graphic 1 Pigma pen, which is awesome to fill in spaces. These don't take too long to fill in, especially with the 05. So I'm just tidying up my lines here, and then we'll get that filled in. And I will go ahead and fast forward to the next step in the process, which is we're going to aura the inside of these triangles on 2 of the edges. Then we're going to turn it around and we're going to complete that line. So basically we're making a square, and I prefer to go ahead and connect the lines together like that versus just doing one triangle at a time and going down the row, because I want to make sure that my lines connect on either side, if that makes sense. So this pattern calls for 3 of those auras. I started with 2, and I'm going to go ahead and do all of the patterns with the 2, and then I'll come back and do my 3rd one, which will just be a filled in, very, very small, kind of a diamond shaped is what it ends up being in the center. So here I'm adding weight to the top of these auraed lines, and that just gives the piece more dimension. So I'm not doing the full line, I'm really just doing the tops of those lines. And depending on how you've drawn your aura, you may need to add that weight on the inside of the line or the outside of the line. It's just wherever you have more space to add that. Once I have my pattern done, so you can see I've added that 3rd very small, almost diamond or oval shape in the middle of those. I'm going to add graphite to the centers, and then I'm just going to spread that out with a tortillon. And I really didn't do too much shading on this. I kept it very simple and just added the shading to the centers of each one of where those diamonds come together. Next up, we'll stamp the sentiment, and I have it in a MISTI, which is a stamp positioner if you're not familiar with stamping, if you're a tangler. The reason I have it in there is because I want to be able to stamp it several times. Watercolor paper is very textured so that it can hold the pigments and the watercolors can move on the paper. So just one stamping isn't going to be enough. I ended up, I think, stamping this about 6 times. And you can see that I'm really pressing down to make sure that it gets in all of the nooks and crannies of the paper to get a really nice solid look. So I stamp it even more after this. And then after it was done, I added a couple of black embellishments with Nuvo crystal drops, and that's the finished card. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new to my channel, consider hitting the like and subscribe button down below and the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of new inspiration as I upload it. I really appreciate you guys joining me today, and I'll see you soon with more Zentangle for card makers and also card making videos. Thanks again. Bye-bye.